Welcome all in to Wild Ute University. Very important episode today. We're going to take a look at the Utah Utes and the conference future of the Utes. Again, super important right now. And just a little bit of background here. I am a Ute fan, 20-year Ute fan, alumni, booster, and season ticket holder. So I've got a lot of insights into this. And we really need to dive in and look at the best conference that the Utah Utes can be in and take a look at the Big 12 versus the ACC, the Big 10, and also the Pac-12. And I'm hoping this video today will clarify a lot of things for Ute fans and others out there. Let's just settle this and just show exactly why the place that we're in is indeed the best fit. So before getting into the analysis, this is where we're going with this video. We're going to take a look at each one of those conferences that have already been mentioned. We're going to look at the pros and cons of each, and then we're going to have a conclusion at the end of this video. And it's going to be pretty clear on really what's the right decision here and where Ute fans need to align themselves. But first off, why are we even talking about this? Why are we talking about conference affiliation for the Utah Utes right now, November 11th? In 2024. Let's jump into it. As most of you who are watching this video probably have already seen, the BYU versus Utah Holy War game on Saturday night was epic. It was a fantastic football game. Emotions ran wild. And Mark Harlan, the athletic director for Utah, made some key comments after the game in public that were pretty shocking for everybody, including Ute fans. And the biggest thing here to take away is what Harlan said about the Big 12 conference. And Mark Harlan mentioned right after the Holy War game that, quote, "We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. And this was not fair to our team." Look, we could debate the call all we want. The game is over. BYU won the game. It's a tough loss and everything. But really, the comment that Harlan made right here about the Big 12, about, hey, we were excited about it, but not tonight, even mentioning that is huge. Like, it's something noteworthy that we need to take into consideration. And not only that, but Kyle Whittingham, in the lead up to the Holy War game this last week, made a comment to the Salt Lake Tribune. And Kyle Whittingham said, in quote, "For the moment, we're going to play every year, at least every year versus BYU, at least until things reshuffle again, which will happen in 3 to 5 years." Kyle Whittingham, head coach of the Utah Utes, said that in a quote that the Salt Lake Tribune put out talking about the Holy War game last week. That article's named "The Utes and Cougars Rivalry Has Been Renewed, but for how long?" ? So you can see here, there's a lot of stuff going on. It wasn't just Harlan's comment. It was Whittingham's comment before. Whittingham's talked over the last year or two about more tectonic movements in conference affiliation. And so let's dive into it. Let's take a look at the Utah Utes. Who's the best fit? Where's the pros and cons? Let's get into it right now. All right, first off, let's take a look at the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Utah Utes and the Atlantic Coast Conference. What are the pros and cons? Look, there's a couple clear pros with the ACC. And this does make the assumption that the ACC, an invite would be forthcoming, and there would be a willingness there of the ACC to bring on the Utes. Under which structure, as far as money, I have no idea. But this is making the assumption that the Utes would be invited into the ACC today. And in the past, over the last 6 months, there had been rumors about that. Before the football season, the ACC has shown interest. They were showing interest before the Utes went to the Big 12. So here, right here, square one is the conference that Utah would consider joining if it ever left the Big 12, most likely today. So pros, let's look at it. There's more academic alignment in the ACC than in the Big 12 conference for the University of Utah. University of Utah is AAU accredited. It's a research institution. It's loved being in the past associated with Cal, Berkeley, and Stanford, who are current members of the ACC. Not only that, you've got the Carolina universities that are big research institutions, Pittsburgh. There's a lot of alignment academically between Utah, culturally, institutionally, and ACC schools. It's just a clear yes there. There's alignment. It's a pro. And also another clear pro is the California recruiting. This is lost on a lot of folks, but Utah, one of the recruiting hotbeds historically has been in California. And one of the biggest downsides about joining the Big 12 conference is losing the California pipeline for talent. That was always the second most important state to recruit out of for the Utes. It was always the state of Utah, California, then Texas. And since the Big 12 invite came and since the Utes went over to the Big 12, California recruiting's dried up. And that is a huge pipeline that could be renewed if you join the ACC because of the Cal and Stanford affiliation. So the pros are the academic alignment, cultural alignment probably, and then the California recruiting. Now let's take a look at the cons, because there are many, many cons here for the ACC that Ute fans need to look at and consider seriously. It's just not all rosy with the ACC at all. Number one is it's a fractured conference. Florida State and Clemson are actively suing the conference to get out of the conference. Those are the two biggest brands. They don't want to be there. What's the future of the ACC? Nobody knows. ESPN hasn't renewed an extension for the media contract for the ACC that's due early next year in February. So there's huge uncertainty about the future of this conference. And number two, money. Look at Cal and Stanford. They're absolutely getting screwed over by the ACC in this new arrangement. They're making half shares for 7 years. And the ACC payouts are similar to the Big 12 payouts. If you go to the ACC, you're taking a pay cut. 100% you're taking a pay cut. Even if there was stability. Okay, another one, exposure-wise. Exposure with the ACC network, you're not going to get much exposure. The ACC hasn't really been on major television that much this year. So exposure is an issue. For the football team too. That's not a benefit at all. And here are the two biggest ones perhaps. I mean, these are all massive, but travel strain. Most of your games are going to be on the East Coast. Like maybe you can create a small pod with like SMU, Utah, Cal, and Stanford, but come on. Like most of the games are going to be on the East. You're traveling so far, it's going to be a strain. Mental health of the student athletes, it's a serious issue, guys. So travel strain is a huge con. And lastly, there's just no juice there. There's no historical matchups between the Utes and these ACC schools. Not between SMU and Utah. There's just a little bit between Cal and Stanford and Utah, but there's no real juice there. There's no rivalries. There's just nothing there. It's just not a huge benefit to go to the ACC. The cons blow out the pros. So really, we need to consider this. Like seriously, I know it's emotional right now. I know it's frustrating. The season hasn't gone the way that we wanted as Ute fans it to go. But seriously, it's not a great solution. All right, let's look at the Big Ten Conference, okay? And yes, caveat, everybody, look at the con number one. We know that there's not an invite pending. I'll get more into that and everything because, of course. But the pros, I mean, at the Big Ten Conference, you're in the P2. If Utah could ever get into the Big Ten Conference, you're lifting your prestige into the SEC and the Big Ten P2. There's super conferences and everything that comes along with that, of course. The money's there. You're going to get triple the money as in the Big 12. The exposure's there. You're opening up the California recruiting pipeline again because of USC and UCLA. There's academic alignment. There's passionate fans. There are a lot of pros. We all get that. We all know that. But let's look at the cons, guys. There's no invite. The Big Ten has not invited the Utes, and there is no guarantee that's ever going to happen. You can't bank on that. Like, that's just not reality today. And so there is no invite. You need to accept it. Number two, cons. The travel strain. Look at USC. Look at all these West Coast teams, Washington, Oregon, UCLA. The travel that's going on is crazy. It's not a benefit. It's a con. And look, you had a little bit of juice with USC, maybe a little bit with Oregon, but really with a lot of the Big Ten schools, you don't really have historical rivalries and matchups. You don't. They're not regional. You get the USC thing, but not really anything else. That's not a pro there. So look at look at the true pros. I mean, the true pros are very, very strong, of course. We all know that. It's a no-brainer, but there's no invite. There's no invite, so it's not even really worth talking about because it's probably not going to be a possibility unless there's massive expansion in the future and everything else, and it's just not reality today. Now let's go forward here. Okay, the Big 12 conference. Current conference, the incumbent conference, the Utes are in. With all the drama that's happened, with everything, let's just look rationally at the pros and cons. Here, Series Pro, the exposure is better in the Big 12 than in the Pac-12. Just look at how many times the Utes have been on TV this year. Almost every game. In the Pac-12 era, on the Pac-12 network, you're basically dead. Non-Nelson rated channel, Utes were on it all the freaking time. There is more exposure with your mark in the Big 12 than there would have ever been in the Pac-12. Seriously. TV exposure, media exposure. Number two, growth, potential growth too. So Big 12 is a conference that's growing. It's not a conference that's on the decline. It's growing. Private equity involvement, a lot of discussion about that, bringing a new member in. I mean, there's momentum with the Big 12 conference that is real that we need to recognize as Ute fans. Pro, historical matchups. BYU, the Holy War. Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State. It's the best situation for historical matchups, and it's not even close. It's where all the rivals are. It's where all the historical matchups are. It's in the Big 12. Pro, passionate fans. We all know that Big 12 fans love Big 12 football, Big 12 basketball. Great fan bases. They're great people. They're passionate. We love that. That's a serious pro. Just look in social media. They watch Big 12. They support Big 12. They talk about Big 12. That is just not the reality of the Pac-12 in the past. There are more passionate fans in the Big 12. There's a huge travel benefit. That's the next one. Close schools. You've got BYU, Colorado, Arizona State there, even the Texas schools, K-State, KU. I mean, you're not traveling that far to go play games. It's more regional. And then lastly, the Texas recruiting. Texas is the third biggest focus for the Utes, recruiting-wise. And that's at least historically. Now it's probably number two, in front of California. Having the Texas recruiting pipeline is something the Utes are going to have to develop more and more of. But that's a huge benefit to be in Texas to get new recruits. Now let's look at the con. There's one con. That's really California recruiting. There's no footprint in California. And so that pipeline's drying up, which is super unfortunate. But that's really, truly the only con. The Big 12 isn't in the perceived super power two. But look, we already talked about there's no invite forthcoming. It's not reality today. So looking at Big 12, there are a ton of pros in this conference. And there's just really one serious con. And that is the California recruiting. Look, and as far as academic alignment, I didn't throw that as a con because you do have ASU, you do have the U of A and Colorado that are more aligned with Utah. They're all Pac-12 members. KU is AAU as well. And so you've got some schools that are AAU focused. Not everybody, but some schools are. So it's not a huge con or anything. It's more kind of a push in the Big 12 as far as academic alignment. Okay, let's talk about Pac-12. What are the pros of going back to the Pac-12 in its current state? Yes, it opens up recruiting in California again. You've got a California presence in there with the Mountain West schools that have moved over. And so you're back on the West Coast recruiting. Hey, and travel, it's going to be easy to travel, more regional travel too. That will be a benefit. Those are the pros of the Pac-12. The cons, and there could be many, many more. But these are massive cons. And number one, your prestige factor. The Pac-12 is a G6 conference. It's not an A4 level conference. It's not what it used to be. You're taking a step down in prestige. The Pac-12 does not have a media deal still. The Pac-12 does not have a long-term media deal still. They will get one. It will not be close to what the Big 12 or the ACC are making, but they don't have one yet. Exposure. Your TV exposure, your media exposure will plummet. There's a lot more thrown down there. That's the Pac-12. All right, after all this analysis, let's look at the conclusion. Here's the conclusion. It's a clear conclusion. Utah fans, boosters, alumni, season ticket holders, supporters, we have to embrace Big 12. The pros outweigh the cons. It's not close. There is not a Big 10 invite forthcoming. So Big 12 in today's world, in this situation, is by far the best fit out of all the conferences that are really even an option. The SEC is not an option either. Regionally, it's just not realistic. Big 12 is where Utah needs to be. It's where they should be at the moment. And Utah needs to integrate in and embrace the Big 12 more than it has. Look, Utah can be the villain. It could be the bad guy and stuff. But like talking about getting out of Big 12 or going over to the ACC or back to the Pac-12 is just not wise, guys. Like the ACC is a fractured conference. You're going to be making less money with less exposure. No juice there with historical rivalries. It makes no sense. The Pac-12 makes even less sense now. You have to embrace the Big 12 and grow the brand of the Big 12 and Utah. It's a benefit for both having Utah in the conference there. And it's an absolute no-brainer. All right, they're breaking it out, pros and cons of each one of the conferences that Utah could possibly be affiliated with. This is an important video too. Like really, these are the true pros and cons. If this was valuable to you, please like and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment. Get this out to more Big 12 Ute fans to show everybody really what's up. Let's just accept it. Let's integrate together between Utah and the Big 12. And let's grow this sucker. We need to grow this conference, this Big 12 conference for the future, to be more competitive with the Power 2 of the SEC and the Big 12 conference. So until next time, Wild Ute is out. Take care.